Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Budget Senpai. Today we're going to be installing GnuCash, which is a double entry bookkeeping system that I've been using for over a decade to manage my personal finances. It is open source software, so again it's completely free, just like LibreOffice, in that we went through the installation process in the last video. So not everybody needs a double entry bookkeeping system, and not everybody's going to find it to be useful or necessary. Adherence is going to be a little more difficult with this one because the learning curve is a little more steep and it's a little more involved. But the way I see it, I want to record every single transaction I make, so I might as well be doing it quote unquote the right way, which is through a double entry bookkeeping system, which is the universal standard for accounting. So let's take a look at my computer here. And I've got just a basic Windows installation, brand new out of the box. So for this tutorial, you will need a computer with some kind of operating system, typically Windows, and you'll need an internet connection just to download the software. Once the software is downloaded, you will not need to be online anymore. So, if you're using a hotspot or at a library or something, it's perfectly fine to do this step first. So, step one, we're going to be opening our web browser, which I'm using Firefox today. And we're going to go directly to the website that houses GnuCash, and that website is gnucash.org. Now, be careful with the spelling. It is GNUCASH.org. The G is silent. And the GNU in the front here is a type of software licensing for open source software. This program is maintained and developed 100% by volunteers. GnuCash is developed, maintained, documented, and translated entirely by volunteers. And that really fits the ethos of what this channel is trying to promote, which is being able to look after your finances without being stuck to any subscription platforms, without getting baited into some how to get rich quick scheme or pay money into none of that. I want to give everybody the tools they need to manage their finances, avoid the traps of debt, and avoid getting taken advantage of. And GnuCash is a really great free accounting software. So once you're on gnucash.org, you're just going to find your operating system, which in this case I'm using Windows. So go here to Microsoft Windows 8, 10, and 11. And that's the actual link. You'll click on the 8, 10, 11. And this will take you to SourceForge and start the download. All right. And I may edit this part out, or I might not. I don't know. Might take a minute, less than a minute. Few seconds remaining, and it's done. So now that we've got this executable file, we don't really need the internet anymore, so you can disconnect from your hotspot. So there's two ways to do this. So in any web browser you're in, you can either click on the exe file, or you can go to File Explorer, go to your Downloads folder or wherever you saved it, and double click it from here. All right, so in this case, I'm just going to double click this file that we just downloaded to start the installation process. Pretty straightforward. We're going to choose English, hit OK, hit Next. Default location is fine. We're going to hit Next again. We're going to do a full installation, so hit Next. You can leave this as GnuCash, that's fine, Next. And we'll be creating a desktop icon and also creating a start menu link. All right. And click Install. And this doesn't take too long. You can see we're already like halfway done. I'm just going to X out of this downloads window. All right. Great, so we're done. So now we're gonna hit next again and finish. All right, now that we've got GnuCash installed, we'll see a desktop icon and you just double click on it to open the program. Now I had already opened this before and installed it, so when you open it for the very first time, you'll probably be greeted with a screen like this, the same one that if you went to File and New File, you will see this new account hierarchy setup. All right. For the first few screens, we're gonna leave these pretty basic. I just hit next. These things, you can kind of skip them for now. We're just gonna do a preliminary setup. If you don't know what they do, probably just skip them over for now. So for this new book options, we're just going to leave all the defaults. So we're going to hit next. Currency, if that's blank, you can just type in USD, like US dollar, and select it from the drop down list. Hit next. So this part's pretty important. We can always change these around later, but we're going to start out with a hierarchy of different accounts. And let's expand and collapse these using the little arrows to the side of the names. And so we've collapsed them all down to these 5. Now, if you've ever taken an accounting class, these 5 names may be familiar. This is the 5 accounting principles, right? You've got assets, equity, expenses, income, and liabilities. Assets. Assets are things that you own. This could include bank accounts, cash. Current assets are typically those actual money things, right? There's other types of assets that are not immediately liquid, that you can't spend immediately. You might have to turn them into money first. Those are also assets, but we'll get into that later. For now, just know assets are things that you own, or the money in your wallet, or the cash that's in your bank account. All right. Equity. Equity for now, we're just going to use for the opening balances. So in a double entry bookkeeping system, for every action, there's a reaction. And so if you have money going into your bank account for that first setup, it has to come from somewhere. Well, if you're just starting the account, that money coming from somewhere, it's like this impossible chicken or egg, which came first type thing. So we kind of just cheat the system by creating an opening balances account that we just pull everything from, and that just makes it easier. If that doesn't make sense now, it probably will later in some of the future videos. But for now, just know that opening balances is a way for us to basically start a brand new set of accounts. If we already have money inside of these bank accounts and cash in our wallet, that money has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere would be the opening balances. Expenses. This one's pretty straightforward. These are things that cost you money. So if you're looking at your bills, if you're paying rent, electricity, water, internet, clothes, books, entertainment. This is just kind of a list of some recommendations. Now I do want to clarify, these accounts are only suggestions. Everyone's going to have a different setup, a different need. So it's a good idea before you even install GnuCash is to maybe just start writing down some of your bills, writing down some of your bank accounts, and just get a general feel for where these all live and how you're going to set up your accounts. So those are expenses. Income, again, pretty self-explanatory. That's the money coming in. So that's your job. That's gifts that people give you. You know, if you get a bonus at work, you can put that into a separate income box. Liabilities for most people is going to be credit cards. You know, these borrowed money and things like that. Loans would go under liabilities. All right. So, you know, looking at these, we can always add and remove these later once we've set it up. So we're just going to go with the default common accounts. I'm going to hit next again. All right. And for the, for this screen, we get a little more specific with how we're going to use these accounts. So I want you to think of each sub account as an envelope that you put money into or that you're spending money into. All right. So for example, let's see here. So cash and wallet, right? That's the actual amount of dollars that's inside of your wallet. So if you've got 20 bucks in your wallet, it's like that little envelope for the cash and wallet has a $20 bill inside of it. Okay. And if you were to spend that $20 at a restaurant, you would put that $20 inside. Let's see, what do they have? See, groceries. Okay, dining. So you'd put that $20 inside of the dining envelope. Okay. And that's more or less how this works. If you'll notice, some of these accounts have a blue checkbox as a placeholder. Think of those as not envelopes, but rather drawers that the envelopes are inside of. Okay? So if you've got, say you spent $10 in parking. You know, you went to Miami and you parked for an hour at this place and cost you $10. Okay. That, if you look at here, parking is a sub account of auto for automobile. And so we can expand and collapse that just to see, you know, we can hide all the sub accounts there. And auto is a sub account of expenses. Okay. So we get a little more specific as we go down the list. We had an expense. So let's expand expenses. The expense was for our automobile. So we expand that. And the expense was specifically for parking. So we want to apply that transaction to the parking account. Now, the reason that the auto account is checked blue and expenses is checked blue is because those, again, are like the drawer that the envelope is sitting in. We don't want to just throw money loosely into the drawer because we're not going to be able to know like what that money is, where it came from, where it's going, what its purpose is. It's a giant mess, right? It's like the junk drawer. You just keep throwing stuff inside of it and it becomes chaos. So for those drawers, those accounts that we want to keep as placeholders, we put this blue checkbox next to it. And that way we know we cannot add money or transactions directly to that account. That's just a placeholder, a way to organize the hierarchy of these envelopes. Okay. And if that doesn't make sense right now, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these videos with a much more in-depth and a slower crawl through how this all works with examples. I just kind of want to show you as much as I can this time around. But this video is primarily concerned with just getting the software installed. Feel free to jump into it, knock yourself out with playing around with it. Worst case, you just start from scratch again. That's the beauty of this software. You really have nothing to fear. I've built and rebuilt accounts many times as my needs change, and it's good habit to not get too attached to something you do for the first time, because you're gonna do it better the next time. All right. So for now, let's just hit next. Leave everything as default. All right, the moment of truth. press apply to create your new accounts. You'll then be able to save them to a file or a database. So we're going to click apply. And just like it said, we're prompted to save as. So what we're saving now is we're saving a file that houses all of our transactions, all of our reports, everything that we create within GnuCash will live in this file. So it's important to know where this file is so that if you want to make a backup of it or move it to another computer, you'll know how to find it. So it doesn't really matter where you put it, but you should put it in a place that makes sense. I like to put mine into documents and then make a new folder. So just like hit create folder over here. And, you know, you could call this GnuCash, not being super creative. Hit enter to create or tap the blue create button. And then now that we've made our folder in documents, go up here to name, and we're just going to give this one a name. I'm just going to call it 2024 finances. You know, it's the end of 2024. You know, this file, if I were going to keep it for a while, the nice thing about putting the year in the file name is I know when it started, but really doesn't matter what you name this file. So once you've given it a name, you'll just hit save as. And if you can't see the save as because certain screen resolutions maybe cut it off, like on mine, you can just tap the enter key and it will save it for you. All right, so here's our 5 accounting principles looking right at us. Our assets, equity, expenses, income, and liabilities. We'll get more into how to use these accounts in other videos. For this one, I just want to keep it pretty basic, show you how to install the software, and give you just a general rundown of what double entry bookkeeping really is. So stay tuned for the next one. Jump into the program. Feel free to break it, play around with these accounts, you know, read the documentation on gnucash.org. There's a lot of really good articles on how to use it. And worst case, you just go to File and New File, and you start over again. And you probably want to do this a few times just to get into the habit of not getting too attached to how you're building it. Because again, the first time you do this, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, just keep at it. And yeah, have fun, stay tuned, and stay blessed.